Welcome to the Crucible of Change. I am Diane Wong, founder and director of the Racial Justice Collaborative. Today, the Racial Justice Collaborative offers our program in collaboration with Dr. Senya Johnson-Bembe of the Race Recovery Project. Welcome to the critical 2023 Women's Summit. We're at an unprecedented juncture in history, and it's time we deeply examine the roles that white women have historically played in supporting systems of racial oppression and patriarchy. It's a turning point that calls us to be transformative in our consciousness. Our focus today is specific yet expansive. We begin with the 19th century doctrine of discovery. The flexion point gave an understanding of a world based on Christian supremacy, which later became white Christian supremacy. From that point, white women's roles began to unfold as responsible for upholding the teachings of the patriarchy and contributing to racial injustice. This history isn't just the past. It's an anchor we must acknowledge to sail toward a better future. Let us journey together toward genuine unity, justice, and truth. Let's unpack the 15th century doctrine of discovery. The doctrine of discovery provided the ideological foundation for European colonization and oppression in the colonial era. This wasn't merely a doctrine. It was a curriculum, not just an educational curriculum, but a blueprint for perpetuating systemic racism and colonial domination. In this curriculum, white women were crucial in teaching their children that Africans and Native Americans were lesser beings. These lessons weren't always explicit. They were often cloaked in daily actions, casual comments, and modeled behavior. Thus, the system was sustained, a legacy of dehumanization that positioned whites as superior and of deserving of stolen lands and exploited lives. And it's a blueprint that continues to shape us today. Slide 3, white femininity as a weapon. The dangerous power of white femininity has often been wielded to enact racial terror, whether it's Amy Cooper in Central Park or the countless untold stories throughout history. White women have used their privileged position to instigate violence against Black men and children, tools of the patriarchy, teachers, perpetrators of the racial hierarchy, perpetrators of racist rhetoric to terrorize Black men, women, and children. They have even enlisted their children for area Nazi efforts. Look for New Jersey's German-American Bund. This was not a misstep. It's a manifestation of learned power dynamics. We must confront the hard truth that white supremacy isn't always cloaked in a hood. Historic acts have led to violent consequences for Black people, and white women have utilized their social positioning as tools of the patriarchy. Slide 4, the suffrage movement's blind spot. Celebrating the suffrage movement, we must also interrogate its racial blind spots. Leaders like Alice Paul strategically avoided the race question, declaring it a separate issue. Yet Black and Latino women faced voter suppression in the South and Southwest long after the 19th Amendment was ratified. Organizations like the NAWSA went as far as sidelining issues of racial injustice to maintain white solidarity. Despite this, they claimed that gaining suffrage for white women would raise the state of Negro women. The struggle for gender equality was, for many, a white woman's victory at the expense of women of color. Slide 5, the intertwining of white women and white supremacy. Slavery wasn't just a system that benefited white men. It conferred freedom, agency, and economic power onto white women. White women bought and sold human lives, ran chapters of the Ku Klux Klan, and laid the groundwork for racial terror, often culminating in lynchings. This legacy finds continuity in modern America. So remember the name Emmett Till, a young boy whose life was snuffed out by the weaponization of white femininity. We cannot disentangle white women's history from the racial injustice that continues to blight our nation. Slide 6, the dual role of white women in the civil rights movement. Some white women stood against racial equality. They safeguarded segregation through their roles in school boards, community organizations, and daily life. But it's also true that others stood up against the tide, working with local civil rights organizations and fighting for school integration. This duality poses a question. Which side of history do you stand on? And now on slide 7, the age of Karen and the question, who is Karen? Karen has entered the lexicon to spotlight entitled, problematic white women. Long before Karen, names like Miss Ann and Becky serve similar functions. These terms highlight the alignment of white femininity with oppressive systems, often at the expense of Black and brown people. These memes aren't just humorous jabs, they're coded commentaries on the state of our nation. And now we are at a turning point. The energy once used to maintain the patriarchy and all manner of systems of oppression is loosening and can now be repurposed to cleave a new path that aims for genuine unity through justice and truth. And here at the Racial Justice Collaborative, and on behalf of the Race Recovery Project, we call for courage, unity, respect, and responsibility. We call for transformation, and that transformation must begin with each of us right now, right here. And thank you. I am Diane Wong, and welcome to our program.